New Jersey has 21 counties, 21, and every single one of them, doesn't matter how rich, how suburban, how scenic, every single one of them has a town that drags the whole county down like an anchor made of bad decisions and unpaid property taxes. Now, I'm not talking about towns that are just boring. Boring is fine. Boring is a Tuesday. I'm talking about towns that have genuinely failed the assignment. Towns where you pull off the highway and immediately question why your GPS would ever send you there. These are the worst towns, one per county. We're going through the first 10 of them, and we're not apologizing to anyone. We start down south in Atlantic County, home of world-famous Atlantic City. Now, AC surprisingly isn't our pick for the worst town in the county. Hear me out. Imagine if you took Atlantic City and then you asked yourself, what if we kept all the bad parts and removed everything that at least makes it interesting? No more casinos, no boardwalk, no expensive restaurants, none of the circus that at least gives Atlantic City a speck of relevance, just the poverty, crime, broken infrastructure, and the feeling that prosperity is happening somewhere nearby but not here. That's Pleasantville, all the bad consequences and none of the draw. The name Pleasantville is one of the greatest lies in New Jersey history. There is nothing pleasant about it. This town sits directly across from Atlantic City like a warning label nobody reads. You've at least got casinos, ocean views, and billion-dollar hotels on one side. And then you cross one road and you're in Pleasantville, where the gas stations have bulletproof glass and the Wawa is the nicest building in a 20-block radius. This town has a violent crime rate that'll make you want to drive straight through without stopping for a red light. The people here are trying. There are community programs, people grinding, and good people living there. But structurally, institutionally, historically, Pleasantville has been the dumping ground that Atlantic City forgot existed. When the casinos cash out, none of that money walks down the road to Pleasantville. Atlantic County's worst town, no contest. Next, Bergen County. This place is overall very rich. Bergen County has towns where the median home is $800,000 and the dads have closets stocked with Patagonia. Bergen County is supposed to be the crown jewel of North Jersey. And then there's Garfield. Garfield sits on the Passaic River, which, if you know anything about the Passaic River, already tells you everything you need to know. That river is not a feature. That river is a liability. It floods, it smells, it has a chemistry that scientists are still fully explaining. And Garfield's whole western border is just right there on it. The town itself is dense, industrial, and deeply tired. You've got chemical plants, warehouses, industrial yards, all jammed up against residential streets in a way that would horrify any modern zoning board. The air quality has been a documented issue for years. There are neighborhoods in Garfield where you can tell what's cooking at the factory before you can tell what's for dinner. And look, working class isn't the problem. Half of Jersey is working class and proud of it. The problem is Garfield never got the infrastructure investment it needed, never got the development, and now it's just sitting there looking weathered while Paramus builds its 11th shopping mall 6 miles away. Bergen County's weakest link always has been. Burlington County is genuinely huge. It stretches from the Philadelphia suburbs all the way into the Pine Barrens, and it contains multitudes. Nice towns, rich towns, charming towns. Burlington is not any of those things. What makes the city of Burlington particularly painful is that it should be. This place has every ingredient for a charming, thriving, small city. It sits right on the Delaware River. It has genuine colonial history. This city is older than the country itself and has the architecture to prove it. Instead, Burlington has become one of the more economically distressed municipalities in the county. The city's poverty rate is dramatically higher than the county average. The schools have struggled chronically. The downtown has vacancies that have been vacancies for so long, the empty storefronts have started to feel like permanent fixtures. The waterfront is the cruelest part. The Delaware River, wide and scenic with Pennsylvania visible on the other side. A functioning marina, historic buildings steps from the water, the bones of a legitimate destination town completely intact, and yet Burlington City cannot convert any of that into sustained economic activity that improves daily life for the people who actually live there. History doesn't pay the bills. You can have George Washington and Benjamin Franklin in your origin story and still end up with a downtown that closes at 5 p.m. Burlington County should be ashamed. Next, we're in Camden County, and I'm not going to pretend this one is a surprise. Welcome to the city of Camden, the city that has been on every worst of list for 30 consecutive years. The city that Patterson and Trenton look at and go, damn, at least we're not that bad. The city where the per capita income, the crime rate, the school performance metrics, and the infrastructure have all been in crisis simultaneously for so long that people have just normalized it. Now, Camden is genuinely making some progress. Violent crime is down. Graduation rates are up from 49 to 70% over the last decade. The waterfront has been redeveloped. The aquarium is there. The USS New Jersey is docked there. But we're not talking about the aquarium. We're talking about Camden as a lived experience, as a city, as a place that has been in shambles for so long that it is structurally incapable of catching up on its own. The tax base in Camden collapsed decades ago when the manufacturing left. And what moved in to fill the void was poverty and crime, and a government that was for years so corrupt, it made the crime almost look organized by comparison. Camden is the worst town in Camden County because, well, of course it is. Next, down in Cape May County, Wildwood functions as the Jersey Shore's problem child, the place where good judgment goes down the toilet and never comes back. Cape May County is home to Stone Harbor, Avalon, Cape May, some of the most beautiful, wealthy, well-maintained beach towns in the entire state. And then there's Wildwood, which operates on a completely different frequency. Wildwood is spring break that never ended. Wildwood is the place where families from Philadelphia and South Jersey send their teenagers and pray. The boardwalk is 2 miles long, sells deep-fried everything, and at peak season looks like a theme park designed by someone who had a lot of energy and no zoning regulations. The town itself during the off-season is a ghost town of neon signs and closed-up motels that look like they haven't been renovated ever. The doo-wop motels, which were historically cool, are mostly rotting now. The commercial district in the off-season is depressing in that specific shore town way, shattered by seasonality, held together by duct tape and the promise of Memorial Day. The city's crime numbers spike in season right along with the population. Nothing says county embarrassment quite like a town that the rest of the shore pretends it doesn't know. Heading west out of Cape May County, we arrive in Cumberland County, which is already operating at a deficit. It's consistently one of the poorest counties in New Jersey, which in a state this wealthy is remarkable. And out of all the struggling places in Cumberland County, Bridgeton is the one that struggles hardest. Bridgeton is the county seat of Cumberland County, which means it's supposed to be the anchor, the center, the place that holds things together. Instead, it's the most dangerous small city in New Jersey by almost every measure. Crime rate, poverty rate, unemployment, school performance, all of it. The city has some genuinely historic bones. There's real architecture there, old buildings, a downtown that once mattered. But Bridgeton lost its manufacturing base over decades of deindustrialization and never recovered. And unlike Camden, which at least has Philadelphia's orbit nearby pulling some investment, Bridgeton is relatively isolated. It sits in deep South Jersey with limited transit access, limited economic connection to larger markets, and limited political power at the state level. The poverty rate is extraordinary. Over 30% of residents below the poverty line. And it's not like the surrounding county is flush with resources to share. Cumberland County's worst town and the worst off county in New Jersey. That's quite the reputation. Up north, we're in Essex County. This is one of the most economically diverse counties in America. You have Milburn and Short Hills, some of the wealthiest zip codes in the entire country. You've got Montclair with its art scene and its brownstones and its progressive energy. You've got Newark, which is very gritty, but at least has some redeeming characteristics. And then right next to Newark, literally sharing a border with it, is Irvington. Irvington is what happens when a commuter town gets left behind so completely that it absorbs all the problems of the big city next to it without any of the city's resources or attention. Newark at least gets grant money and development attention and news coverage. Irvington just sits there quietly being one of the most violent municipalities in New Jersey on a per capita basis. The schools are underfunded, the infrastructure is crumbling, property values have tanked, and the political leadership over the years has been, to put it generously, inconsistent in its effectiveness. What makes Irvington particularly brutal is the contrast. You can literally be standing in Irvington and see South Orange, one of the nicest suburbs in the area, from where you're standing. It is that close to wealth and that disconnected from it at the same time. Essex County has some of the richest towns in America. Irvington is the proof that proximity to wealth doesn't matter at all. Back down south in Gloucester County, we head to Paulsboro. This is a refinery town. That's the entire identity. You live near the refinery, you smell the refinery, you breathe the refinery, and in exchange, the refinery does not pay you nearly enough to justify any of that. The town has been environmentally burdened for so long that it's basically just accepted as a condition of existence. The kind of place where parents know not to let kids play outside on certain days without anyone having to explain why. Environmental justice is a phrase that gets used a lot in Trenton and applied very rarely in places like Paulsboro. In 2012, a freight train derailed in Paulsboro and punctured a tanker car full of vinyl chloride, which is, to be clear, a carcinogenic gas, releasing a cloud of it into the air over a residential neighborhood. People were evacuating. Residents were reporting burning eyes and respiratory problems. It was a genuine public health emergency in a town that was already carrying more than its share of public health burden. The response was messy. Residents spent years fighting for proper compensation and health monitoring, and when it was over, Paulsboro went back to being Paulsboro, small, industrial, overlooked, and still sitting next to the same infrastructure that made the derailment possible in the first place. Paulsboro has under 6,000 people. It has a poverty rate that significantly exceeds the Gloucester County average. It has a waterfront that should theoretically be an asset. And instead, the waterfront is industrialized to the point where take a walk by the river is not something anyone says. Hudson County is a fascinatingly dense place. It's got Jersey City, which is basically an extension of Manhattan at this point. It's got Hoboken, which is where NYU graduates go to continue being NYU graduates. It's expensive, it's urban, it's gentrifying in 12 directions. And then there's West New York, which is just crammed in there. Dense, chaotic, loud, and operating about 15 years behind the rest of the county in terms of development. West New York is genuinely the most densely populated municipality in one of the most densely populated counties in the most densely populated state in America, which means there are an extraordinary number of people packed into an extraordinarily small amount of space with an extraordinarily underwhelming amount of infrastructure to support them. The Palisades Avenue corridor is relentless. Traffic that makes you question your life choices. Sidewalks that feel like they were designed for a smaller population. Apartment buildings stacked on apartment buildings. And while gentrification has done a number on Hoboken and Jersey City, West New York is still very much a first-generation immigrant community that hasn't seen the same investment. The local politics have been, let's say, colorful. Multiple corruption scandals over the years. A political machine that runs the town with a grip so tight it squeaks. Hudson County's weakest link, and in a county full of sharp elbows, that's saying something. Rounding out part one of this series, we're in Hunterdon County, which is New Jersey horse country. Rolling hills, farms, wealthy exurbs, the kind of place where people who are done with suburbs but not done with New Jersey end up. It's beautiful. And Flemington is the county seat, which means it's supposed to be the hub. But instead, it's a cautionary tale about what happens when a small town's entire commercial identity collapses and nothing replaces it. The big story of Flemington for the last 30 years has been the outlets. Liberty Village in the 90s was a genuine shopping destination. Buses came from New York City. It was a whole thing. And then the outlets slowly, relentlessly died. The anchor stores left, the foot traffic evaporated, and downtown Flemington, which had been living on the energy of those outlets for years, began to deteriorate a bit. What's left is a downtown with a lot of vacant storefronts, a county courthouse that's beautiful and historic, a diner, and the memory of what this place used to be. There's a Flemington Fur Company that's been closing and opening for what feels like forever. There are development plans, but Flemington has been on the verge of a comeback status for so long that the comeback itself has become the bit. Keep in mind, this is still a pretty nice place overall, but Hunterdon County is the wealthiest county in Jersey, so there weren't really any better options. Anyways, that rounds out part 1 of the worst towns in each New Jersey county series. Make sure to come back tomorrow for part 2.